Hello, students. This is Dr. Faizan Mirza. I'll be continuing my discussion of October-November variant 20. Sorry, October-November 12. October-November 2021 variant 12 on question number 21 to question 40. So let's start with question 21. Uncontrolled cell division can result in the formation of tumor. Which of the cell cycle stage will be occurring fastest in tumors? The fastest stages is interphase because interphase is where abnormality can arise and it can go unchecked and results its formation of tumor. Because if the if interphase were going gradually as it is supposed to go, the cell cycle would make sure that abnormal cell doesn't accumulate inside the tissue. So interface will be short. A piece of DNA molecule contain 84 base pairs. Now 84 base pairs mean that this is a double-stranded DNA. If it's a double-stranded DNA, the total number of base pairs are 84 there. The table shows the number of adenine and cytosine bases in one or both the strands of DNA, the piece of DNA molecule. So bases strand 1 and strand 2, adenine are 28 and 23 respectively. The total number of adenine are mentioned on strand 1 and strand 2. What about cytosine? Cytosine are given 15 on strand 1. Now, if 15 cytosine are on strand 1, how many guanine should be there on strand 2? We know guanine and cytosine are complementary to each other. If one strand is having 15 cytosine, it should have 15 guanine on the other strand to complement 15 cytosine. So, strand 2 is having 15 guanine. Now 15 guanine is something that we already get here. Now we already are given three values 23, 8, 28 and 15. If we add these together, we get the value of 66. So 66 bases are already there. These are 66 here and 84 base pairs are the total. So if we subtract 84 from 66, we get the number of guanine on strand 1 because strand 1 is having all these bases and this is we get 15 for guanine. So if we just subtract 66 from 84, our answer is 18. So there are 18 guanine on strand 1 and 15 guanine on strand 2. If we add 18 and 15 together, the answer comes 33, and that's the exact answer that we get here. The mRNA sequences of the three stop codons are shown to you, UAA, UAG, UGA. Whenever you get these kind of codons, you know that it says it's mRNA sequence. So these are the mRNA stop codon. Right away, make DNA stop codons out of it. So UAA will have ATT, UAG will have ATC, UGA will have ACT. These are the DNA stop codons made using complementary base pairing from mRNA stop codon. Which mutation in the template transcribed strand of DNA sequence that codes for a polypeptide could cause translation to stop prematurely? Stop prematurely means this is an example of a nonsense mutation where an amino acid coding codon changes into a stop codon and the stop codon comes early, so a short polypeptide is made. Now, if they are saying ATT changes to ATC, so ATT is already a stop codon. If it changes to ATC, so there is no change actually. The stop codon is still at the right position. So this is not a short polypeptide. It will not terminate prematurely. The polypeptide will be of same length. ACT changes to ACA. ACA is not a stop codon at all. In fact, ACT was a stop codon. If it changes to ACA, you will have an abnormally long protein. It will be abnormally long protein because the stop codon will just not come. So B and A cannot be the answer. C, ACC is an amino acid coding codon because it's not among the stop codons. It changes to ATT. Yes, ATT is our stop codon. If this changes, this is an example of nonsense mutation. Stop codon comes prematurely. C can be the answer. Last, they are saying ATC. ATC changes to TAG. ATC is still a stop codon. This is ATC being a stop codon. It changes to TAG. TAG is not a stop codon. So again, D cannot be the answer. Which features of companion cells are essential for their function? We know they have a thickened cell wall. They have a thicker cell wall than sieve tube element. No, this is not a fact of companion cells. They are connected to sieve tube element by plasmidesmata. Yes, they contain nucleus and mitochondria. Yes, so 1 and 3 will be the answer. Which statement about water movement in plants are correct? Water can pass through the cellular cell wall. Yes, it can because cellular cell wall is completely permeable. Water cannot pass through lignified cell wall. Yes, because lignified is impermeable. Water can pass through cell walls that contain suberin. No, suberin is present in the endodermal cell, that's gastroferin strips, so it doesn't allow water to pass through the cell wall. This water must enter into the cell membrane to reach the next cell. So 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is wrong. The diameter of a tree trunk usually decreases slightly during the daytime. So if it's decreasing slightly, that means there's a higher transpiration occurring, more water is being lost. Now you need to recall which factors can increase the rate of transpiration. So which factors in the environment during the day could cause the diameter to decrease? We know increased humidity would lower the rate of transpiration. So this cannot be an answer. Increased temperature rate high, it results in higher transpiration. Increased wind speed results in higher transpiration as well. The answer will be B. Which sequences could lead to mass flow, inflow, and sieve tube? We have all the steps mentioned. Look at the options. Every option begin with either 1, 3, 3, or 5. So just point out 1, 3, and 5. One of these should be the first one, the first step. So if, for example, if we say the first step is actually the number 1 mentioned point, sucrose move into the C tube element. No, this is never the first step. You have to identify the first step. So this is not happening. Then look at number 3. Number 3 is given as B and C as the first step. A very high hydrostatic pressure is produced. No, this comes in fact, the last thing is that the hydrostatic pressure is produced, because after this the mass flow begins. So if we go to the option D, where first option is 5, so 5 is protons that are actively pumped out of companion cell, and from the companion cell they go to the cell wall of the companion cell. So this is the first step. Yes, so our answer will be D. What will happen as a result of blood pressure in the right ventricle becoming higher than the pressure being in the right atrium? When this happens, we know the right AV valve, which is the tricuspid valve, will closes, and the pulmonary cellular valve opens. So we go for the option right away. The right AV valve will close, which is option D. 29. The graph shows pressure changes in different parts of heart during mammalian cardiac cycle. W, X, Y, and Z are shown, indicate valves which are open and closed. You know you need to cram where all these points, what all these 4 points these represent. This point here is always AV valve closing. The opposite is AV valve opening. So just make a mirror image out of it and just learn that. Similarly, the semilunar valve closes, the semilunar valve opens here, and right opposite to it, the semilunar valve closes. So here the AV valve close, the semilunar opens, then semilunar close, and AV valve opens. So this is how the cycle goes on. So you can just remember there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and whenever a graph comes, just mark these with these annotations and start solving the answer for the answer. So they are asking for you what's happening at W, what's happening at X, what's happening in Y, what's happening in Z. So out of all these options, nothing can go right except for the option B. If you try to go into the details of which graph is representing what changes, you can go to the descriptive video where I've explained which I have explained in transport of mammals, and where I've explained this graph in detail. I would still recommend that you, although you may have the right concept, but still keep on making sure that you annotate this right on the graph. This will save you a lot of time, because this is exactly what you need. You need a lot of time in MCQ paper. So whatever you can do with shortcuts, do it. Which statements are correct? Compared with blood, tissue fluid is having less protein and no red blood cells. Yes, perfect. Lymph may contain lipids. Yes, carbon dioxide. Yes, triglyceride. Yes. Tissue fluid contains glucose, amino acid, urea, carbon dioxide. Yes, everything which dissolves in plasma comes out in the tissue fluid. So yes, 1, 2, 3, all are correct. Which statement about formation of hemoglobinic acid are correct? Hemoglobinic acid can occur with dissociation of oxygen from hemoglobin. Yes, it removes excess hydrogen ion, preventing blood from becoming too acidic. Yes, it is linked to action of carbonic anhydrase. Yes, all three are correct. What explains the maximum volume of oxygen is taken up as blood passes through the capillaries of lung? Each molecule of hemoglobin takes 4 oxygen atoms. No, it takes 8 oxygen atoms, because each oxygen is actually 2 atoms together, 1 molecule of oxygen. So it takes 4 oxygen molecules or 8 oxygen atoms. So A is wrong. B, dissociation curve of carbon dioxide from carboxyhemoglobin allow hemoglobin to be available. Carboxyhemoglobin formed with carbon monoxide hemoglobin combined together. This is a wrong term. They often confuse the students using carboxyhemoglobin. Carboxyhemoglobin is never a combination of carbon dioxide with hemoglobin. It's always carbon monoxide combining with hemoglobin. So keep in mind, never fall for the trick where carboxyhemoglobin is mentioned. The binding of false oxygen molecules of hemoglobin decrease the affinity. No, it increases the affinity. Oxyhemoglobin formation increases the ability to transport oxygen. Yes, D is correct. The image of photomicrograph of transition part of gas exchange system. We know if it's a gas exchange system, this structure is cartilage, because cartilage itself will always be gelatinous. They will have a gel-like consistency outside the cells. These region here are smooth muscles and your elastic fibers, and these are your ciliated epithelium. How do you identify the ciliated epithelium? Each cell is a ciliated epithelium here. These are cilia-bearing cell, and this cell here is the one that is producing mucus. So this is a goblet cell. So this is a goblet cell. This is the goblet cell as well. A goblet cell, and this is a goblet cell again. This is a goblet cell, and this is again a goblet cell. And everywhere where you see cilia, these are ciliated epithelial lining. So where are ciliated epithelial lining, square, the smooth muscles and cartilage present? All three things are present together. We know that they are present. All these can be found together with cartilage in trachea or in bronchi. They can never be in bronchioles. So a thin layer of ciliated epithelial, top of layer containing cartilage is supported by elastic fibers. No, there's no thin layer supported on top of cartilage. No, the elastic fibers are not coming last. A very thin layer of epithelial cell walls containing elastic fibers surrounding many blood vessels. No, where blood vessels are not being surrounded. These are the blood vessels. They are not being surrounded. This is the blood vessel, and this is the blood vessel as well. They are not being surrounded by these epithelial lining. This is the epithelial lining, and this is the lumen from which the gas will be transported. An inner layer of ciliate epithelium and goblet cells on top of elastic fibers supported by an outer layer of cartilage. Yes, this is exactly what you see here. Inner layer of ciliate epithelium and goblet cell. Yes, on top of loose mucous glands. No, you do no, we do not see mucous glands. Okay, even if we think that okay, these are mucous glands supported by a continuous ring of cartilage. Okay, we don't see the continuous ring of cartilage in this complete diagram. We don't know whether this cartilage forms the complete ring or this is an incomplete ring. Which row shows the tissues that are present on the wall of trachea and the wall of bronchus. Alveoli and alveolar duct are always having squamous epithelial cells. So for trachea and the wall of bronchus, smooth muscle must be present, goblet cell must be present, squamous cell must be absent. So C is the answer. When a person suffers from asthma, the tube of gaseous system narrows. If it narrows, it means becoming constricted due to contraction of the smooth muscles. Which activity is occurring during asthma attack? Activity of C-reactive cell increases. Yes, because there will be a lot of mucus being produced. Endocytosis goblet cells increase. No, not the endocytosis, exocytosis. In fact, this is a very old question. It came a long time back, and now they have just repeated this question again. So this they just confuse you with the term of endocytosis and exocytosis. Mucus is released by exocytosis, not by endocytosis. So second statement is wrong. Smooth muscles are more active. Yes, so 1 and 3, you're correct. The next is about entering of tar. Tar, as the term tar is not in the syllabus, even if the question comes now, it will make sure that they will tell you that tar is a not tar, tar is a carcinogen, and then they will frame the question. So, but again, all this information regarding how the elastase is being damaged and all these are not in your syllabus anymore because we don't study the smoking related disease in the current syllabus. Which control measures would reduce the transmission of TB? We know TB is having a vaccine called BCG vaccine. So vaccination will prevent it. No cannot be the answer. Answer is either B or D. Antibiotics, yes, TB is a bacterial infection. Antibiotics are used. So again, either the answer is B and D. Boiling water before drinking. There is no relation of boiling water with tuberculosis because it's completely transmitted. It is an airborne disease. When it's an airborne disease, there is no point of boiling water and drinking it and thinking that you will be safe from TB. Comorbidities where individuals having two or more diseases. So which disease have you studied where person suffer from two or more diseases? It's straightforward HIV infection followed by TB because we have studied this as a fact that many people who are suffering from HIV, they actually die from TB and that's when the AIDS actually occur and the person cannot ward off TB anymore. Some medical condition are particularly likely to be resulting comorbidity. In one example, initial infection with one pathogen increase the risk of developing a second disease by a factor of 15 or more. The second disease is then major cause of death for these people. Cholera infection followed by development of malaria. Cholera will not make a person vulnerable to malaria. Cholera infection followed by AIDS. Cholera cannot make a person vulnerable to AIDS. Malarial infection followed by development of TB. Again, malaria cannot make a person more susceptible to TB. But yes, HIV infection can cause a person to become more prone to TB, tuberculosis, because tuberculosis occur in people who are immunocompromised. Which conditions are infectious and result in a high white blood cell count? Now, myasthenia gravis is not in our syllabus anymore. Leukemia is blood cancer. So only infectious disease TB is there. The question cannot come with myasthenia gravis, but yes, they may give some information about myasthenia gravis and reframe the question. So you just need to identify which of these is an infectious disease where a pathogen is involved. So recall which disease of pathogen is involved and you mark that as an answer. Which cell type causes secondary immune response to be much faster than the primary immune response? We know in secondary immune response, memory cells are mandatory and memory cells initiate the entire cascade without the immune system undergoing clonal selection and clonal expansion. So the memory cell will be answered here. I hope that was helpful for you. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.